Hi guys, you're welcome to Web Technologies. We are still on Laravel for beginners. We'll be looking at the form, how to actually process form data to the database in Laravel 5.4. We're actually going to be using the template blog that was created in the previous tutorial on how to create a blog template using layout files in Laravel. I have the view as this. This is actually the template that we used. Now I'm going to be improving on this. We'll be creating a page whereby we're going to integrate a form. From there, we're going to actually save the form data to the database. So I'll actually walk you through on how to achieve this simple task. Based on, we have a table called the posts, and we also have a table called post table, whereby we have an ID, title, and body as the fields of this particular table. So this is the table that we'll be using, and we've actually created a model, which is the post.php for this particular table. So from here, I'll be going to the web.php, which is the route, and I'll be creating the route to carry out some specific tasks, which is to get posts, should be backward slash, should be this. So we'll be pointing at the create just this way. Give it a comma, and we're actually going to be calling the post controller, which will actually be pointing at the create method. Get to save this. We're going to actually move to the controller, which we find in the HTTP. We have the post controller already created, whereby we have the post.index that actually showed the blog template. Now I'm going to create a function which will be create, so as to be in sync with the controller. So back to the controller, and we're actually going to pass in the view, which will be the create.blade.php. So let's move on. Have something of this nature. I'm going to return, give it space, view, which we actually call post.create. We have a posts folder right there. So let's go back to the resources. Now in the views, we should have a post folder over there, the post folder. So inside this folder, we're going to create create.blade.php file. Right inside this file, I'm actually going to copy out a snippet which I'll be getting from the Twitter Bootstrap, which is a template for forms. Just to make it quicker, CSS /hatch forms. Now we have the form, so we get to copy out the source of this particular form. Let's click on this. Actually going to copy to clipboard. move back to our ID, which is bracket IO. So firstly, I'll need to quickly do something here. Need to extend layout.master. That's the master.blade. After, I'll call on the section. This is for the content. Now I need to end the section. The end section. Just this way. Right there, I'll actually need to pass in some values here. But firstly, let me create the h1 tag to actually depict, should I say publish posts. So right underneath the h1 tag, I'll be passing in the form, which is right there. Let's give it a space from each div tag. Just this way. Alright, the first field, which is example input email. Now we actually have two fields. The first is the title, while the second is the body. I actually don't categorize ID as a core field because it's going to actually generate auto increment, so we need the two fields. So for the title, and we change this to title, that's the label. The type will be text. The class form control, that's fine. The ID now should be title. And we actually don't need a placeholder. We can replace this placeholder with a name. Title. That's fine. The second field is actually for the body. So we change this to body. Pass in the field text as body. Now the type, the input type is not actually going to be an input type, it's going to be a text area. So let me quickly do that. Text area of, and assign an ID to it called body. And we're going to make a name, also body. And we're going to actually make a class, which is form control. And we're cool with that. Let's edit and let's take away the input field. Actually need a text area. That's fine. We actually don't need a file input. Take that out. And even the checkbox, take that out as well. We'll need a button. Give the type of as submit, and let's call it submit. No problem. Let's change the class to primary, so we have the blue color. That's fine, and we save it out right there. So let's get to view the post.create session of this particular application. Call it posts create. That's cool. Now we need to actually make this look aligned. You know, it's not sitting appropriately. So we go back to the source. Now we have the h1 tag. That's fine. Now I'm going to do something quickly here. I think I still need to put the HR, which should actually sit somewhere here. HR. Save that out and see how it looks. Refresh. Right. Let's continue. And I'm actually going to include something here quickly. So we need to bring in the call span, which is right inside the content, because we actually yielded the content and override what we have there, neglecting the divider. This actually divides the layout into two columns. So we need to bring it back to the create blade. So we're actually going to make it wrap around all content, which would be cool this way. Make it this way. And we need a corresponding div. Just this way. Save out. So let's get to look at it right in the browser. Go to the browser. We need posts /create. Here we go. We have the form, the title, and the body to fill out. So from here, we're actually going to modify something quickly. Go back to our text editor, and we need to include a forgery cross-site request. We actually need to make that available so that this is actually security measures that Laravel provides to users, so that any hackers cannot just directly call the form. This particular cross-site request forgery key is going to actually trigger. It has an ID that matches the present session with any session being called. So we actually need to include that quickly, or else the form request will not be delivered. So type in the CSRF underscore. Need an underscore here. Underscore field. Just this way. When you save out, a refresh on the page. Let's get a refresh. And let's look at the source of this particular page, developer page source. Scroll down. You get to see the name. It's an hidden impute type. You get to see the value and the token. This is actually unique to this particular session. So it's actually protecting the form from cross-site request forgery. So let's move on to the text editor, and we get to actually extend the form. There should be a post request. So what's the method of the form? It should be a post, and there should be an action, that will trigger. Let me make the post a sort of capital. So it's just going to mimic all conventions. Now the action should be where the post request is going to point the file to. What is the file, the calling file that will actually handle the request or handle the data. So we're actually going to point it down to the post. Just this way. Save it out. From here, we're going to actually create a route that will handle this action. So we'll go back to the web.php and we quickly create the route, which is actually going to handle this. We call the route get, Now this time with the post, getting the value, you actually posted something. Now we call posts, comma, still in the post controller. This time we're calling the store method. So we still have to create that. Save it right there. Save it. Now let's quickly create the store method right in the post controller. Back to the post controller. Now we'll create a method called public store. Just this way. Now I'm going to actually make all requests before we actually get the data. Let's make a request to actually know if this is working or that's fine. Have it this way. So let's save it. Now we'll go back to the form and refresh and pass in the data into the form. Let's call it Laravel basics, and let's call it form processing. That's cool. Let's hit the submit button. Can you get to see the token? It triggers the title called Laravel basics and even the body called from processing. So that's cool. We can easily know that it's working accurately. Back to our text editor. Now we need to request. First of all, we need to create a new post using the request ID. Now we have to save it to the database. Afterwards, we redirect to the home page. We're actually going to do that in the post controller. So we're going to do that quickly. So now we're going to call the $sign post, new post, been instantiated. That's something I included. Use app posts. Very important. This is actually telling the directory not to use the app HTTP controllers. It's actually going to use the app and the post model, to call data. So this particular inclusion is very important. Make sure you use this, or if you're not actually using this, you need to include it directly into this session, calling maybe something like app or slash, call it like this, post. Do you get it? Call it this way. No? But since you actually use it over here as a global use, it's actually going to affect any function that called the app post. So that's better. So let's move on with this. We've actually instantiated the post, and now we're going to get the fields. Just come over here. Let's get the fields, which is the post. Get the title. I'm making a request to the title. Like this. Make another post call. This time we'll make the request to the body. Same body, no request. Pass in the body. Close it out. Quite fine. Now, after doing this, we need to save it to the database. So we call the post, Now we call the save method to assist us in carrying out that task to the database. After saving to the database, we want a return which will redirect to the home page. Just like this. We need a single column. Let's pass it in here. Let me get to space this. With this, that's fine. So we actually need to go back to our browser. Let me go back. Let me make a refresh. So let's actually insert something different. Let's call it Laravel form. Let me change the form processing to, let me call it a new session. That's cool. So we submit. We still have it this way. So we need to take out something. Be clear, we need to take out this request. So that is actually going to run the post and save it to the DB and redirects. It's actually saved, but we need to actually get this particular portion to run. And let's see how it goes. So we go back. No. This time I'm going to let me refresh. Let me give a new, let me call it another post. Laravel basics. So let me submit this. Something happened. We actually didn't save the post controller. So let's save and go back to redo. Definitely we've had like up to 4 posts done, but let's refresh. You have to actually save out some things, but that doesn't really disturb the code or make it break out. Let's say the third post. It's just an example for forms. Impute. Let's call the submit. That's cool. Can you see that it redirects to the home page? You know, just little itches. Just make sure you follow it just the way I explained. And let's go back. Can you see that? It's actually worked and it's working perfectly. Now I'll need to go to PHP Artisan Tinker to actually see what's happening. Let's clear this. Now I'm going to run PHP because I'm right in the vagrant box of this particular project. Run PHP Artisan Tinker. So we get to get into the shell script of vagrant. Now let's run app stash post to get all just this way. You're actually going to get all. Can I see what came in? The third post for form input. That was the only recorded because we had to save before we actually get that done successfully. Saved into the DB using the post save. So let's quickly do another one and get to look at what we have. We're going to move to the create. Posts rather. Create. To actually run another form input. This time, let's say Laravel basics because it actually didn't record. Now we're going to give a body of, let's call it full implementation. Let's submit. That's cool. It redirects. So let's go back to our terminals. Let's call it again. Can you see the second post? Laravel basics, full implementation, the created at the updated time, and timestamp showed perfectly. Now I'm going to show you another method of actually making this particular process work. Let's get a look at it. You can actually build it this way using the post. Calling the create. Stand. So we'll break this out this way. So inside here, you have to create the title. It's actually going to be title, just the field. Make a request. So the title. That's closed. Give a comma. Come below. Now this time you call the body. Make a request. Call the body. Save out. No. Now I'm going to just comment this out. So you have the post create inside the curly brace over here. That's cool. Save out. And let's get to look at this. Move back to the posts. Create. Can you see? Oh, we have a syntax error somewhere in the create. Let's get to fix that. So let's fix that quickly. We need a semicolon to end the code. And now let's make a redirect. Let's bring back this redirect. Since we still need it, so actually redirect. Let's place that right there. So let's save out. Let's move back to actually get the create posts. Create. Now this time let's say development series in Laravel. Let's submit. Now we have a mass assignment exception. This is kind of pitfalls that new programmers actually encounter, and it's actually asking that why you mass assigning the fields. So for you to actually treat this error, you need to go back to the model. No, let's quickly do that. Let's go back to the model, which is the post. It's actually telling you these are security measures that Laravel out of the box deliver to users. Is asking why you mass assigning the title and body. So we need to specify that right in the post PHP. Inside the model, we need to create a protected field. Let's have it this way, protected call fillable. So we tell Laravel that we are actually mass assigning this particular field, which is the title and the body. So we get that crossed out, save that right there, move back to the browser. Now let's get to refresh. Let's go back and we'll refresh. Development series in Laravel. So let's submit. Do you notice that that was delivered successfully without any error? So let's get to look at this right there in the terminal. Let's run this back. Post all to actually see that. Do you notice the ID 3? We have the title, development series, the body in Laravel. That's cool. This is just how to deliver post requests, from forms right to the database and do some manipulations using the model to actually make it right simple. We get to talk about validation and we get to talk about some other functionalities right there in Laravel. This is right full enough, and I will implore you to rewind over and over to actually understand what it actually takes to get your form delivered to your database. Thank you very much for hanging out with me throughout this tutorial. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Also, if you have any question, just leave it in the comment section of this particular video. Bye bye for now.